David Singer with Gloves Off with David Singer. And I have a special guest today, Karl Sturge, who is the president of Howard Palmetto Baseball League. Say hello, Karl.
Hey, David. Good to see you. How
Hey.
you doing?
Doing great.
Happy New Year to you, by the way.
Happy New Year to you. It's kind of reminiscent of last year, but we'll make some changes, and everybody will be a lot healthier and happier this year than last year, hopefully. I guess we should read the disclaimer so we can keep everybody out of trouble.
Sounds like a plan.
We don't want to get Karl in any kind of trouble.
I get myself in trouble. I don't need you to get me in trouble.
The views and opinions expressed here are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of community newspapers. Anyway, so hello, Karl. Happy New Year, as I said before. Karl, let's talk baseball. Let's talk Miracle League.
Yes. Okay. For those of you who are not familiar, the Miracle League is it's a local league. It's about 10 years old. It's a league that is dedicated solely to the special needs children of Miami-Dade County, and not just the village of Palmetto Bay, but the county as a whole. There's approximately 80,000 special needs children. The Miracle League, proudly, we are the only league that is dedicated specifically to the special needs children to play the great game of baseball.
So explain to everybody out there that's watching or will be watching in the near future, what kind of children, what kind of needs, where it's occurring, how often it occurs, how it got started. Give us a little background.
Sure. Well, to use the word children really is a misnomer. We let people play from 3 to 70. I mean, we've had adults play. We've had the league itself has been in existence about 10 years. We've had a field for about 3 years. It was the idea of one of my predecessors, Keith Riley, who was the president of Howard Palmetto Baseball and Softball Association back 2009, 2010. While he was president, we had a family who had traveled up the various leagues with several children in the league, and they had one child, one young man who could not play because he had a special need. By the time we were in, his brother was in the last year of playing. The family approached and asked if we could have him play with one of the teams. So for legal purposes, the league thought about it. And at the end of the day, we just decided to do the right thing and let this young boy, still, he was in his teens, play. And it was an absolutely rewarding experience for everyone involved, for the other players in our league.
The league would be
the Howard Palmetto Baseball.
Okay,
right.
So
this is before
it really started out as an offshoot of Howard Palmetto.
Yes, exactly right. Proudly, it is an offshoot of Howard Palmetto. The Miracle League itself is a national organization. The idea to form a league here in Miami was born out of a single player and his family that we invited to play. And he had just a wonderful experience. The league had a wonderful experience. After that season, Keith said, okay, where do we go from here? We have to take this to another level. He did a little research, found that in Georgia, an organization called the Miracle League, much like the Special Olympics, although the Miracle League is dedicated solely to baseball. And we became a member of that national organization. Keith and I attended the annual conference, the 10-year conference in Minneapolis that year, bought the rights to be a Miracle League in Dade County. And then it became a grassroots organization. Everywhere we went, people wanted to become involved. The Miami Marlins became one of our partners. Miami-Dade County Parks became one of our partners. And we then started a campaign to raise money and to investigate and find a place to put the field. Being a village of Palmetto Bay.
I know Village of Palmetto Bay would have liked to have it
Yes.
Occur at Karl Park.
For
'Cause I
sure.
remember it for sure.
Right. And being a Village of Palmetto Bay resident, I mean, that's where I wanted it personally. But it really became more than a personal, preference. It wasn't just for Karl Sturge. It wasn't just for the children of Palmetto Bay. It really wasn't just for Palmetto Bay. It wasn't for just the members of Howard Palmetto. It turned out that, all of the people in Dade County, the 80,000 special needs children needed a place to be. And while it may be convenient for me to go to Coral Reef Park, it may not have been convenient for somebody in the northern part of the county. So with the Marlins and Miami-Dade County Parks, we looked just about everywhere and decided on a central location of Tamiami Park. And we were able to get a field built, a specialized rubberized field, if you will, an artificial turf field, so that children in wheelchairs can, glide freely around the bases and not worry about tripping over a base or tripping over a divot in the grass or the clay. And we've had that field open for, I want to say, 3 years. It would have been more, but for COVID this
Yeah, I was just thinking,
spring.
how has COVID affected?
Like everybody else, we shut down in March, and it's going to be a struggle to get back out on the field. But we will all get back out on the field. We're all going to get through this.
So, what time period during the year would the Miracle League actually run?
Typically, we play in the spring, and that would start in January, and then we would go through, much like a school year. We would go through. Maybe spring break, April. The summer months are very hot for anybody, let alone children with special needs. And then we would pick up again and do fall ball. So we would have 2 seasons out there at Tamiami Park.
How far do you think you pull from for the Miracle League in regards to like Dade County?
We've pulled from all over. We were a traveling road show for several years before we had.
I'm talking about like the actual players.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we played games all over the county. And the reason why I started out the answer that way is because, we drew interest in the northern part of the county. We played down, way down south. We played in Cutler Bay. We've played many games in Palmetto Bay. Our first game was at Sunnyland Park in Pinecrest. We've played at local high schools. We played at Palmer. We played at Westminster. We played at Columbus. We played at South Miami Boys Club. We drew players from all over the community. So when we finally got our home field, they're coming from everywhere. And, the most rewarding part about it is when your first game comes and somebody you hadn't seen in a couple months. Now, everybody's growing and it's hard to see, hard to believe how big they've gotten, but they come and give you a bear hug to, because they're excited to be back out there. And so it really is a wonderful thing.
It's absolutely one of the most admirable things I've heard, of getting individuals, to participate in a Miracle League where they usually can't participate in a sports venue like that.
The best part about it is it gives those children a chance to be part of a team where they were never able to be part of a team before. It also gives their moms and their dads a chance to sit in the stands and cheer for their sons and their daughters. And many of them, as I said, are older adults. We actually had one player who was a correspondent in Vietnam and had gone through a tragic event that led to her, being wheelchair bound for the rest of her life. Well, the Vietnam was in the 60s and the 70s. She still played with us.
So that leads me to my next question. So it's kind of like Howard Palmetto Quarry League where you have age groups.
Yes.
So what are the age groups that you run typical in a season?
When we started, it was really just getting, anybody that wanted to play out there. So once we got our own field, we broke into, organized teams, much like we have at Howard Palmetto. All right. We broke those teams up much like you do at Howard Palmetto, where we've got age groups 5, 7, 9, 11, and 12. We try to keep the teams similarly, balanced. It's not as perfect a fit because you're going to have kids and, that are 16, 17. You're going to have young adults, and you're going to have, some of our founding players were, older than 30, 40 years old.
So I would assume that all the individuals that play are competitive, not competitive that you would say sports competitive, but mentally competitive where they want to win.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Number one, we have an enclosed field,
Mhm.
okay, and the field is 200 feet. We have several players that hit the ball over the fence. All right, so I mean, there are players at our Howard Palmetto that league that can't do that today.
I could, wait. First of all, disclaimer: we used to play softball together for years and years and years, and I couldn't hit a ball 200 feet.
Well, and I didn't want to comment on your athletic prowess, but be that as it may, no, it's a very competitive league.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing. We've been playing for almost 10 years and we've yet to have a winner or a loser. Every game ends in a tie. And
that's great.
We try and break the tie the next game, but everybody comes to bat in the inning and everybody gets to play in the field. And the other aspect of the Miracle League that really is rewarding, everybody is paired up with what's known as a buddy. So each Miracle League player has a corresponding buddy we try and pair up age-wise that helps them in the field. And in many cases, that relationship goes beyond the baseball field. So we're not really just playing baseball. We're developing social bonds between members of the community.
Yeah, that's going to be a topic I have a little later on in the program about social bonds. So if somebody has a child or an adult that they'd like to get involved in the Miracle League, how would they get in touch with you or the Miracle League in itself?
Well, real simple. If you go to the Miracle League of Miami-Dade on any website, if you plug in that name, Miracle League of Miami-Dade, MLOMD.org, you can do it that way, and you'll be able to find. It'll pull it right up to our website, and you can sign up and register, through the website there.
And I'm sure if anybody wants to make a donation or anybody who wants to get involved, they can do hit the same website, and it will come to.
Absolutely.
You're on the board of directors now.
Yeah. I'm a founding member, and I'm co-chair. We have a wonderful co-chairman. It really is. But for him, we may not be where we are today. Gentleman by the name of Ray Rocha just did a wonderful job, steering what was a great idea and helped close the deal. And so he's my co-chairman. As I said, he really runs the league. He's also, if you come to the games, he's also the announcer. And just be careful because he can be tough on the on the commentary.
Oh, okay.
So. And don't be late. That's for you, Ray. Don't be late to the game. But anyway,
that's very funny.
Yeah, you can go. You can certainly donate any money you want. At $5 to whatever amount you want. The field itself has been built, but like anything else, there's maintenance costs. There's uniforms. There's new baseballs that we've got to buy, and it's strictly a volunteer league. So we're not. Pulling money from any source.
How are the Marlins involved?
The Marlins, were a wonderful partner. They still are a wonderful partner. Back when David Sampson was the president of the Marlins, he gave us just about every resource. We've played games at Marlin Park, and Dave would get down in the dirt with our players, literally, and play with them and the current Marlin organization does as well. Don't get me wrong. Derek Jeter has been absolutely wonderful for them as well. But it goes back to, you asked, how did they get involved? Yeah. So when this idea was born, we went to the Marlins and we were not turned away. I mean, they absolutely said, we're on board, whatever we need to do. We'll do, and the same thing with Miami-Dade County Parks Association, and it was the same with the Village of Palmetto Bay. I mean, the Village of Palmetto Bay really wanted it in Palmetto Bay.
That was the time when Gene Flynn was
mayor, right? And we looked at Palmetto Bay Park, and Ed Silva was there as well. We looked at the Children's Hospital right there by Palmetto Bay Park. We looked at Coral Reef Park. One of the things that we felt that we needed was lights. And so, not to get into any issues, but
Yeah.
clearly that wasn't an option at Coral Reef Park. And so, for our reasoning, we felt that we needed lights. And then, as we looked around, as I said before,
Central location.
It really became something that was more than just the Palmetto Bay community.
We're on the south end of
right.
South Dade, and what you need is a central location, and it helps to have
we
26.
We
right?
even pull players from the Naples area, so it's a quick shot across Alligator Alley or Tamiami Trail, and Tamiami Park is right there as well. So, but the Marlins and the Village of Palmetto Bay, Miami-Dade community, county parks, even Pinecrest, everybody was wonderful and cooperative. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's something that.
Baseball, which as of today, I was still calling it the Corey League from when I was a kid, and I was told that the Corey League hasn't been in existence for the most part since 10 years.
It's been a while since it was part of a Corey League national organization. You're correct, and you remember that name from being involved in it forever. Howard Palmetto baseball has been around since 1962. Not to age myself, I think I was a player there in 1971. So, the better part of close to 50 years, I have been in and out of Howard Palmetto. Maybe I took 4 years off while I was in school, in college. But I coached my younger brother while I was, between college and the first year of law school. Coached a couple of kids that went on to play professional baseball. We've had some wonderful players come through that league. It really is one of the only leagues left that are purely recreational. We were talking about Corey League. What happened with Corey League was, as travel ball became more popular, the Corey League organizations that were county-wide really fell off. There was one at Flagami, there was one at Tamiami, there was one at Perrine, and we would have, in the summertime, we would have a playoff. Each of the leagues, and Howard Palmetto would play Perrine or play Flagami or play Tamiami. But as travel baseball became more popular, Corey League really fell off to the wayside, and sadly, a lot of the recreational leagues in the community fell off as well.
Well, my reasoning for that, and I have this debate with people all the time, is kids are too involved with the Xbox and watching TV, and the parents don't push them enough to go out there. And that's why, obesity is on the rise with children, because they just don't get the push they need to go out there and play organized sports.
Well, I certainly think they should get out and play more baseball. And any sport. Any sport. For me,
pick a sport.
For me, it's baseball. I mean, what you don't learn on the Xbox is how to cope with adversity. Maybe you do in your game, but what you certainly don't learn in Xbox is socialism, learning teamwork, team skills, getting together with people of your age and for a common goal, and to be frank, just have fun outdoors. I mean, as I said, I've been involved in the league for 50 years. Some of my best friends today are people that I met through coaching their children. I've probably, between coaching, playing, and supervising and being the commissioner, I've probably been involved in more than 1,000 children, boys and girls of this community. And I can't go to Publix. I can't go to the movies. I can't go to Mark-Light Stadium without seeing somebody that I was involved with through baseball. And I'm happy for that.
So is this the first year you're president?
The first year that I'm president, yes. I've been on the board since the 90s in various, positions. I was the rules committee. I've been the chairman of certain divisions, and that's where you evaluate the talent of the league and make sure the teams are balanced. So you don't have a team of, you've seen the commercial where the kid picks Charles Barkley to play basketball and the other kids are all 10. We balance our teams so that they're competitive. And our league proudly is open to everybody of any ability.
So what are first of all, Grant Miller has always been involved in Howard Palmetto, and we have a joke every once in a while that I used to be the equipment manager, and which basically means that I was stuck in my backyard hosing down all the helmets and everything else that they use at the end of the year.
Well, actually, I as I recall, I think that Harry Truman was on Grant's team when Grant was coaching. Just a joke, of course. But I do remember as a player, Grant Miller being at third base, coaching a game. And so Grant has been around as long as I've been around. I was going
to tell you, if there's a question that you can't answer on Howard Palmetto, that we can always call a friend, and it would either be Ethan Shapiro or Grant Miller to help you answer.
Well, right? And for sure, Ethan Shapiro is our new Grant Miller. And but if this was like Cash Cab and Phone a Friend, I mean, I would be calling either one of those two. If it was a historical question, it would be Grant Miller for sure that I would be calling. If it was current, I would probably be calling Ethan.
So let's discuss the different age groups and how you separate, how and the different fields that they play. Oh, look what the cat just dragged in.
Oh, look at this. So it's always good to see you, Grant.
So we were just talking about you.
Yes.
So talk about like the different age groups, when it how young you are, how old you are,
Okay.
And we know that if you're going to play, okay,
right,
you got to sign up by the 9th.
Yeah, well, actually, you need to sign up. We're doing, if you're watching this and you're interested, go to the Howard Palmetto website, Howard Palmetto Baseball Association, and you'll be able to find it. Registration will close on Saturday the 9th. This weekend, we are doing evaluations. If you've got a child from even 3 years old, going on 4, not 2 going on 3, but 3 years old going on 4, up to 13 or 14 years old, we'll find a place for you. But it's important that you sign up now, because this weekend we're doing evaluations of the players at Sunnyland Park and Greer Park in the village of Pinecrest. Our T-ball games will be played at Coral Reef Park. The age groups that we've got, and
for T-ball,
understand, we have a 5 and under division. So if you've got an older 3-year-old, you can play T-ball. We'll get you on a team. And that's up through 5. So that's a T-ball division. And then our next group is the Atom division. That's for 7 and under. And that is a coach pitch division. Those games will be played, more than likely all of those games will be played at Sunnyland Park right there on US 1 128th Street. The next division is 9 and under. And those games will be played at Sunnyland Park and Greer Park as well. And then we have an 11 and under and the 12 and under. But the 12 and under division will take us through, if you've got 13 or 14-year-olds that are not making their high school teams or their middle school teams, we'll find a place for you. We've had children as late as 10th grade that are playing. Now, if you're a high school baseball player playing on your school team, you're probably better off staying at that school, because number one, your coach is going to want you focused on that team. But if you didn't make your team, we'll find a spot, and we've done that. And let me tell you, we've had some great players. We had a player play at Rice University. I had 2 boys that played at Rollins. That they're not my sons, but they might as well be my sons. That played at Rollins College. We've had, some of our board members had their sons play up in the Northeast as well. So it's a great league, and now's the time. Sign up now before Saturday, and we'll find a spot for you.
And there's 2 different leagues, right? Unfortunately, COVID, I guess your league that would have started in the fall and winter took a hit.
Yes. Yeah. So we play. Some of our teams play. And we have an outlet for you, the Aces. They will play year round. All right. And when I say year round, that doesn't mean they're playing 12 months a year, but they're a team that is kept together for 12 months a year. They may take the summer off. They may go and play in tournaments. I took a team to Cooperstown, New York, with an organization, from down here, and we played. Teams from all over the country, all over the world. In fact, we played a team from Alaska.
I think you took Gina Terry with you.
I did. I took Ryan Terry, her son, who was a great player, who ended up, getting, the opportunity because of baseball, was a Westminster state champion, and
played at Central Florida.
Played at Central Florida and has played elsewhere. Just, there's an example. That's a young man who started out at Howard Palmetto, and there's so many more like him. The other players that we're telling you about, all alumni of Howard Palmetto. Daniel Singer as well, and
started at 4 years old.
And it's not just baseball where these people end up. I mean, we had a Howard Palmetto alum who was an astronaut. So I mean, Grant, if you want to phone a friend, you can ask Grant Miller on that one.
Grant, please return to the interview room.
And the point is, Howard Palmetto gives you the foundation beyond the parents. Of course, parents are the first foundation, but it gives every person that comes through there the opportunity to build and become more than what they would be simply playing Xbox or sitting in front of their cell phone working their thumbs.
What's funny is Ryan, when he started playing baseball, didn't really like baseball that much. So for all the parents out there, your kids may not like baseball once they go out there for a couple of weeks, but eventually they catch the bug. Well, Ryan caught the bug, right? And he played state and he played college baseball.
I had the privilege of coaching Ryan, probably when he started at 9 years old. And like to think that I had a little bit in the development of his love for the game. Know that I had
definitely had something with his temper.
That goes without saying, but I like to think I also helped him develop. He had, for those of you who know Ryan, he had a wonderful pickoff move and would crush people at first base. It was almost as if we'd rather walk them to first so he could pick them off and get them out, so they wouldn't have a chance to hit. But Ryan was a great player and a great kid.
So I remember years ago, and there has been a decline in kids playing baseball, because we used to play at Chapman, right, which has been totally destroyed by the county, unfortunately. And it was older players that played there. And I remember sitting there, night after night watching one of my kids play there, and they really need to bring back those fields.
Well, I listen, as a member of Miami-Dade community, the Miami-Dade community, a resident since 1969. I played at Chapman Field as a teenager. I managed teams there for my children. Some of the players that we talked about, I coached my brother there. Dave and I played softball. I watched David miss fly ball after fly ball and strike out in softball. Who strikes out in softball? David Singer does.
I never said I was great.
Anyway, no, it's a shame what's happened at Chapman. Not putting the blame on anybody. I know that there are issues. I'll put
the blame.
Well, I'll leave that to you.
I'll be happy to say that the county's let this community down by not doing something with those fields.
What happened is, in the past, what I would love to see is Chapman Field come back in some form or fashion. I mean, it wasn't just for Howard Palmetto, it was a field that we used all three fields there, but it was also a park in which you could play softball after
at night, softball.
After ages.
Some of the best times I remember is your dad playing with us.
Yeah,
it was great.
My dad, he did play out there with us.
We were graduating college, and your dad would come out.
Yeah,
and he'd play, and we'd have a great time.
Fun times. Those were fun times. That park should come back. It goes back to the question you asked. Our numbers are down. It's for a variety of things. I think one of the things, I don't know that it's any lack of interest in baseball, but
I think it's a changing interest with kids that want. Listen, you know what? Tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. I think the problem is that parents plug and play their kids now, and they sit them in front of the TV or they sit them in front of the Xbox, because life is life, and they don't drag. Look, they don't drag them out there. It takes a lot of dedication to drag your kids out to play baseball or any other sport. And you have to have an interest in doing it for your.
Well, I'm certainly not going to say anything negative about the parents. I can't speak to what they do
Yeah.
or don't do. What I will say is there are more baseball opportunities today than there were when even Ryan and my son Matthew were playing. Many of the private schools in 6th grade now have teams, which when I was growing up, that didn't exist. So if you were going to play baseball, you had to play at a, Corey League back then. Now you can play at your private school. You can play on travel teams. Travel ball did not exist growing up. So while our numbers are lower than they were in the 70s or the 80s, the interest is still there. And we have enough to field. I mean, we're fielding 8 teams in the T-ball division.
That's great.
And we're going to field
That's great.
6 or 7 teams in the Bantam division.
You want to tell them what the age groups are?
Yeah. So the T-ball is the, as I mentioned before, the 5 and under. All right. And so as of now, I think we've got 8 teams.
That's beautiful.
The Atom and Bantam divisions are strong as well, 6 to 7 teams in those divisions. Our goal is to get to 6 teams in midget. I think we're at 4.5 right now. That's why if you have a child out there who's 12 or under or 11 and under, sign up because we've got room for them to play, and we certainly want them to play. The juvenile division, that's the name of the division they're in. Right now, I think we have 2. We're working on 3. We'll get to 4 teams. What happens there, and it's historic. It's not a product of a lack of interest, but many of the players are waiting to see if they make their school teams. And so they won't know by this Saturday. So the senior division, the 12 and under division, well, yes, we want you to sign up now. We understand you're waiting to see if you make your high school team or your school team. And if you don't make it, you
think COVID is having an effect on
I think it is to some extent, and I certainly don't blame. I think COVID has affected us all, and it's something that has to be taken seriously. For the parents that are concerned,
I was going to ask you about precautions.
We absolutely have COVID protocols in place. Our protocols are as strict as any village protocols, any county protocols, any of the public schools or the private schools protocols, and in some cases even stricter. So. Our players are going to have to wear masks the whole time, not just when they're in the dugout. They're going to have to wear masks while they're in the field as well. In some leagues, you don't have to do that, but here we're going to do that. And to be frank, if our numbers are down a little bit from where they were last year, but that may not be necessarily a bad thing because
a little bit more specialized attention.
Well, more specialized attention, but less exposure. More, because we're going. Each team is going to have. Typically, we have a team parent every year. It used to be called team mom. It's now called the team parent. That would take care of the snacks and the schedule for who has to bring certain things. Number one, there's going to be no snacks. We're not going to allow that kind of contact. But the team parent has become the COVID representative for the league. And so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to report to the league, much like they do in the professional leagues. If there's somebody on the team that's got, exposure or has tested positive, then we're going to shut down. I mean, it's all about safety. Yes, we want to play, but we want to keep our players and their families, our umpires and everybody that's out there on the field safe. It's not about that one game, that one individual. We're going to want to make sure that we're doing this by the book as best we can. We've had doctors help us look at our protocols and as part of our uniforms this year, for the first time, our uniform includes a mask. So we're not just going to leave it to, well, are you going to bring a mask? And we also know that anybody that's played baseball knows that their sons have left their hats, their gloves. And we recognize that players are going to leave their masks. So we're going to have masks available. We're going to have, sanitation solution there to make sure that we're as safe as we can possibly be.
Hey, David, I don't want to interrupt, but you got some comments up there on
we got comments, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about girls softball in a second.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank everybody. My friend Gene Flynn is in a league of his own, apparently.
Gene, I would agree with the whiffer comment. If you had seen it in person, it was a beautiful thing to see.
Julia, thanks for watching. We can talk about softball. Brad would love to get a juvenile age group loaded like the old days. Julia, T-ball was a blast. Travel team coaches prefer their players not to play at the league level. I can't answer that. I know that unfortunately or fortunately, travel teams are a lot more competitive. And Tom, if you want to get around all the rules, just let Ethan Shapiro handle everything for you.
All right. Well, so let's.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you if that's right or wrong.
So Brad Lozano is the volunteer who's in charge of the juvenile division. So for those of you that are signed up for you're going to meet Brad, and he's going to do a great job. He's one of our volunteers who put in tireless hours, who have put in hundreds of hours behind the scenes that, quite frankly, doesn't always go appreciated by the community. And we get comments like some of the comments there that seem to be a little bit derogatory, but be that as it may,
maybe they're playing.
You
never know.
It is what it is. As far as softball, Julia, this year and I think last year, we have not fielded a softball team for a variety of reasons. It seems to have been more of a travel ball focus. Would love to have softball. Part of it. The league was known and always has been known. And I think if you go to the website, it's still Howard Palmetto Baseball and Softball Association. Would love to see the softball aspect of this brought back.
And Palmetto Bay has a dedicated park.
Yes, and that's where Howard Palmetto
for
softball played.
Mm-hmm.
And so that park is a jewel of the community, and Gene was instrumental in making that happen. And so it's a shame that we haven't taken that advantage of that. And if there is anything we can do to bring that back, we certainly need to do that. Now, the young ladies and the girls that aren't playing softball, you're certainly welcome to play baseball. Like I told you, I've coached.
Yeah, I don't think that's a pitch that we've heard. That Jeremy was on a team that had a couple of small little girls on his team, and they played as well, if not better, than some of the boys.
Well,
so I mean, it's not surprising that there's a lot of girls out there that want to play baseball.
We
not want to play softball.
We have little girls in our baseball league right now, and I can tell you with confidence that they're as good as any of the boys.
I don't.
Now,
I've seen it.
Now, the team you talked about with Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
We had a young girl on that team who ended up going to University of Connecticut. I think played basketball there. One of the best athletes around. My youngest son, William, his last year, I coached a young lady who ended up getting a full ride softball scholarship, who was hands down the best player in the league. She won the MVP award for our league. There was not a young man in the league that could play her. And she pitched, and let me tell you, she was as competitive as they came, and she let all the boys know it. I mean, she was as intimidating and is also a young lady as there can be. But the point being is there's a place for young girls that if they want to play baseball, there's certainly an opportunity to do that.
No, I think parents need to realize that if they're thinking that softball is the only venue that they can play, they can certainly join Howard Palmetto and play baseball too. It's not.
We're certainly not discouraging any young girl from playing softball. I think that softball, as I mentioned to you, the player who was I coached her, and she's one of the best players I've ever coached. The reality of it is, and for whatever reason, I mean, this past year you saw in Vanderbilt, we had the first female kicker play football. Mm-hmm. The reality of it is, the young girls, for whatever reason, aren't playing college baseball. They're going, and there's some great college softball programs. And so while she ended up playing, FSU, he had to get that in. While she ended up playing and was one of the best players in baseball at Howard Palmetto, her future was in softball, collegiate wise, and she went on and did good things there as well. So
let's talk about sponsorships. Are you
Yes,
still looking for sponsors for different teams?
absolutely.
And if they want to sponsor, um, uh, the cost or what they get out of it and the benefits they get out of it, and who do they contact?
So sponsors can come in a variety of ways. Traditionally, a parent of one of the players in the league would step up to sponsor. Sometimes that wasn't the case. We had local businesses that would sponsor, that have been sponsors of the league going back into the 60s. But the far majority of our sponsors are parents who have local businesses. They're dentists, they're doctors, they're lawyers.
Community newspapers.
Community newspapers,
Always
absolutely.
sponsored?
Yes, absolutely. And what would happen, at the end of the year, you get a recognition, you get a plaque that, and we've all seen them in the barbershops around in the businesses. There'll be a team photo, and that plaque is for the sponsors. For those of you who are not aware, the sponsorship doesn't go towards the registration fees for the players. I believe the registration fees are $250, maybe $200. You got to go back to look at the website, and it may be a little bit less for T-ball, $195. But it goes towards uniforms. It goes towards paying for the umpires. It doesn't go to any.
Uniforms have sponsorship on the back.
Correct.
Still,
they do, but it certainly doesn't go to any of the board
Yeah.
members. It doesn't go to the Brad Lozano's out there, or the Karl Sturges of the world, or the Grant Millers. It goes right back into the league. It actually even went towards improving, park facilities. There was a time when, the communities asked us to do that, and as a league, we were able to do that to some extent. So, the fences, for example, you see at Sunnyland Park, are fences that we donated many years ago.
So there is recognition of the sponsors. It's advertising, and it's also really helping out the community and getting your name out there.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely a benefit if you're out there and you want to sponsor. I guess you go to the website and you can check it out, or you can reach out to Karl, or reach out to Ethan, or reach out to somebody.
I see Gabby, the pitcher, and of course, Julia. Gabby is one of the players that I'm thinking of. Not the one that I coached. Kylie was her name, but tremendous. But I can tell you, I probably coached a dozen young ladies over the years, and every single one of them were outstanding players.
Well, all I remember is if Barry, if Grant sponsored everything, all we'd hear is who let the dogs out 24 hours a day.
You know what? I went and looked. I think if you go to league lineup, it'll pull it up. Yes, it doesn't say harpalmetto.org anymore, but that is the website. If you click on the league lineup, that is our site.
So anyway, so how about, here we go. Grant's going to come in.
Who are you, Barry? Come on, speak up. Send me your number. Call me, 305-323-8206. Call me, Barry. I'll sponsor whatever you sponsor. I'll match it.
I'll stipulate, Barry. I think Grant should sponsor everything.
So talk about parents donating time.
Well, the parent.
do you have enough parents that are helping right now?
The parents have always been the backbone of our league. Every one of our managers and our coaches are volunteers. They, in this day and age, we make sure everybody has a background check, so that they're safe to be out there, and we put on a coaches clinic. So we teach them. Now you have some coaches that are ultra competitive and ultra knowledgeable. There are some that just want to be out there to be with
Clark Sturge?
with their parents. Clark certainly was ultra competitive and ultra knowledgeable. Yeah. He was a one of the good coaches and won quite a bit in the league. But Clark is an example of somebody that was involved in the league, and his son is currently playing on his local high school team. One of his best friends today is somebody that plays for the Columbus team, and they developed their relationship playing. I won't give last names, but his name is Pablo. And ironically, Pablo Sr. and Pablo Jr. Pablo Jr., who played with Harry, he loves fishing. So Matthew, who played with Ryan, they're 10 years apart. what do these two do? They go out fishing
Yeah,
now.
you meet a lot of friends.
That's
You meet lifelong friends at Howard
that
Palmetto.
really is the point of it all.
Really.
It's not just about baseball or softball. It's developing friendships. As I said, my best friends to this day are people that I coach their children in without question.
Or played softball with.
Or played softball.
Or went to college with.
Well, maybe that's my double line. But go.
We got more. My son is 20. Do you think Ethan Shapiro could help him get into the league?
Actually, Ethan could probably, if you give him a copy of his birth certificate, he might even be able to make it so that he could play on Ethan's team, much like that Charles Barkley commercial where the league, the one guy drafted him. But you know what? Your son couldn't play, but he might be able to coach. He might be able to umpire.
Oh, that's another thing. Umpires.
You know, my son William became an umpire as soon as he was done here, and he's actually coaching. He's actually umpiring baseball games in Orlando. He was doing high school games. He was doing high school games when he was still in high school, which was an opportunity that not many people have. So even though he's 20, there's definitely opportunities for him in the league. Maybe not to play, but certainly to do something else. Are you looking for
umpires?
Yes. We're always looking for, somebody that has an interest in the league, and we'll find a spot for you. If you're interested in umpiring, you can certainly, contact me through the website, and I can get you that information. But we have senior umpires, we have junior umpires. We've got the senior division starts with the midget and the juvenile. That's the 11 and under group going above, and then the younger group are many of them are players that just stopped playing, 13 years old, 14 years old, and it's their first job. And listen, I'll tell you, that in and of itself is a job, because while we're talking about the best that you see in people, sadly, sometimes you see the worst in parents, because you'll see a 13-year-old kid who may not make a call parents will like, and they'll absolutely undress a 13-year-old umpire out there. I've watched my son be one of those people that were undressed by some people that, if they had to go back and look at it, probably that wasn't a shining moment for me. And while the other mother, who was just dying because her son was part of the team, was ready to go out on the field, I sat back and let my son deal with it. It helped my son learn how to deal with adversity and how to deal with people that don't always act appropriately. And it happens on the field. So the point is, you learn so much more that you will take and use in life, other than how to swing a bat or how to throw a ball.
So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to finish up and say anything you want to the people out there, as far as Howard Palmetto and calling for any, to play or to volunteer or to sponsor or to umpire. So
okay. Well, first, Dave, thanks for the opportunity to bring me out today for this.
Couldn't think of anybody other I would want to start the new year with, but you.
Well, and I hopefully that's because of my association with baseball.
Yes.
In this community. As I said, it's been something that I've been involved with since I was 6 years old, and it has shaped me, hopefully, to be the person that I am. Some people may not think that's a good thing. I like to think that I've contributed something to our community. And I know that if you get your son or daughter involved, it will be an absolutely rewarding experience. We will be playing one game a week and one game on the weekend. You'll typically have a practice, one time during the week. And all of this is subject to COVID. COVID is our priority. We're making sure that your son or daughter will be safe. So we want to get your child out there. If you're interested, now is the time, because we are doing evaluations this weekend. You can certainly sign up past this weekend, but what happens is, once those teams are drafted, we can't guarantee you a spot until somebody drops out or something happens. So we're doing evaluations this weekend. We're picking teams on the 13th. So if you absolutely can't be there this weekend, sign up. We'll make arrangements so that you get evaluated before the 13th. But now is the time to sign up. Go to the website, find you know, what is the appropriate age group. If you don't want, if you don't have a son or daughter and you want to volunteer, reach out to our league. You can certainly, we'll find a spot for you. And we'd love to have you be part of the league and become, you know, a part of the Howard Palmetto family. Who knows? There may be an astronaut out there right now waiting to be there again.
And in conclusion, thank you once again for being here. Just to let you know that we were checked for COVID before we walked in here.
I've got my mask
we
right
have our
here
masks.
too.
We had our temperatures taken. They actually made me wash my hands.
First time he's done that.
First time So same thing with Karl. Next week, I will have Yolanda Berkowitz on our program. She is a director of Friends of Miami Animals Foundation, and we'll be discussing animal adoptions and what's going on in the community as far as COVID actually has hit the animal community because some people can't afford to maintain their animals at this point. So she's gonna.
Go ahead.
Oh, how old is the Miracle League? You want to answer that? Knock yourself out.
One last question.
Okay.
I saw Gene Flynn coming in on the Miracle League. Gene, anywhere from 3 to 50 to 70. We'll find a place. We've had players. Some of our players have been with us 10 plus years. They started when they were 3 and 4 years old, and we had young adults and middle-aged adults playing with us as well. So sorry,
That's
Dave.
okay.
Go
No,
ahead.
it's all good. You can interrupt me anytime you want. So next week, if you're interested in animals and animal rescues, dogs, cats, and whatever, Yolanda Berkowitz will be here. She's got an unbelievable pedigree in different in different charities that she's actually been on the board of directors for a run. She's a very interesting individual. So join us next week at 4 p.m. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me or reach out to Karl.
I can be reached through the Miracle League website or the Howard Palmetto website, either one.
And that's it. Thanks everybody for watching. Once again, thanks for being on my show.
Thank you, Dave, for having me.
Thank you.